I want to talk to you about a powerful subject tonight, a subject that stirs the soul, that lifts the spirit, and fills us with hope. It's about blessings. More specifically, it's about the signs that God is about to bless you. Now, I know sometimes life gets hard. You've been working, striving, praying, believing, but you haven't seen that breakthrough yet. Maybe you've been asking yourself, Lord, when will you show up? Well, tonight I want to remind you God is always moving, even when you can't see it. He's always working in the background, setting one point or another. But what if I told you that this very storm, this turbulence, is a sign that something greater is on the horizon? What if the challenges you're facing are not a punishment, but a preparation? What if the storm itself is the evidence that you're closer than you've ever been to your breakthrough? Life's most transformative moments often come after periods of intense difficulty. Think about it, the darkest hours just before dawn. The calm, the peace, the clarity, it all comes after the chaos, not before. Many people misinterpret the storms they go through as signs that they are off course or that they are not aligned with their purpose. But sometimes the opposite is true. The storm is a sign that you're on the verge of a significant shift, a breakthrough, a blessing. And that storm is there not to destroy you, but to strengthen you. When you're in the midst of a storm, everything feels uncertain. Your plans may fall apart. Relationships might face tension. Your career, your finances, your health, all of it may feel like it's under attack. And naturally, when things start to go wrong, we question why. We ask ourselves, why me? We wonder why God would allow us to face such trials, especially when we've been trying to live right, do right, and stay on the path of faith. But that's the thing, storms don't always mean you're doing something wrong. In fact, they often indicate you're doing something right. Think about a seed planted in the ground. Before it can sprout and break through the soil, it must first endure darkness. The rain must come. The soil must be moved and shifted. It's not a peaceful process. The seed is being pushed, stretched, and challenged, but without the rain, without that disturbance, the seed would never grow. The very same is true for us. We cannot grow without resistance. We cannot reach our potential without being pushed beyond what we think are our limits. That storm, those raindrops, that shifting ground, it's all necessary for the growth that's about to come. When the storm hits, it's easy to feel like everything is against you. But what if the storm is actually for you? What if it's clearing out the things in your life that no longer serve you? What if it's washing away the distractions, the negativity, the things holding you back so that when the blessing arrives, you're ready to receive it? You see, God has a way of using storms to remove what doesn't belong. He doesn't want to bless us with things that we're not prepared for. And sometimes preparation looks like disruption. When we experience difficulty, it often serves as a refining process. It brings to the surface what needs to be addressed, what we need to let go of, and what we need to strengthen. If everything in your life were easy, if there were never challenges, you'd never truly understand your own strength. It's in the struggle that we discover our resilience. It's in the storm that we find out what we're really made of. Those moments of hardship, those moments when you feel like you're about to break, they are revealing to you just how strong you are. They are building your endurance, your patience, your faith. There's a quote that says, "Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. It's in the rough waters that sailors learn how to navigate." It's in the storm that they learn to trust their instincts, their tools, and their training. The same is true for you. If everything came easily, you'd never have the chance to grow, to build your spiritual muscles, to deepen your trust in God. The storm forces you to lean in, to rely on a strength that's greater than your own. When you're in the storm, it's tempting to give up. The waves seem relentless and the shore feels far off. But what if the very presence of that storm means that the shore is just ahead? What if the turbulence you're experiencing is because you're so close to your destination that the forces trying to hold you back are doing everything they can to stop you? It's often when we're nearest to our blessing that the storm feels the fiercest. That's when you need to dig deep. That's when your faith needs to rise. Sometimes God uses the storm to slow us down, to get us to stop and evaluate where we're heading. Maybe we've been moving too fast, relying too much on our own understanding and not enough on His guidance. The storm forces us to pause, to reflect, to seek Him more earnestly. In those moments of stillness, when the noise of life is drowned out by the storm, we can hear God more clearly. We can refocus on His voice, His direction, and His plan. Storms can also be a way of stripping us of our pride, our ego, and our self-reliance. When everything seems to be going wrong, when the plans we've made fall apart, we realize just how much we need God. It humbles us. It reminds us that we are not in control, and that's okay, because when we release control, we make space for God to move. We allow Him to step in and do what only He can do. The storm teaches us surrender. It teaches us to let go of our need to have all the answers and to trust that God's plan is greater than anything we could imagine. The storm can also be a sign that God is about to remove some things from your life. Sometimes we hold on to things, people, or situations that aren't aligned with where God is trying to take us. And when we don't let go willingly, God allows the storm to shake those things loose. It's not always comfortable. In fact, it's often painful. But it's necessary. God won't bless you with new opportunities if you're still clinging to old ones that no longer serve your purpose. The storm is a way of clearing the path, of making space for the new blessings He's about to bring into your life. In the middle of the storm, it's easy to focus on what's being lost. But what if the storm is not about what's being taken away, but about what's being prepared for you? What if, in the midst of the chaos, God is rearranging things so that when the storm passes, you'll be in the perfect position to receive what He has for you? Often we focus on the inconvenience, the discomfort, the fear. But if we shift our perspective, if we choose to see the storm as a part of the process, we can begin to understand that it's all working together for our good. When you feel stretched, when it seems like everything around you is pushing you to your limits, it's a feeling that can be overwhelming. It's like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at everything you've ever known, and you're being asked to jump. There's a tension in that feeling, a discomfort that comes from being pulled in so many different directions. But here's the thing, growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in those moments when you are stretched beyond what you think you can handle. You may not see it now, but being pushed to your limits is often a sign that you're being prepared for something greater. You're being expanded. The discomfort you're feeling is not a sign of failure, but a sign that your capacity is being enlarged to handle the next level of blessing. It's like when you start working out for the first time. At first, your muscles are sore, you're exhausted, and everything hurts. But over time, as you continue to push yourself, you get stronger. The same principle applies to your spiritual, emotional, and mental growth. When you feel stretched, you are building the strength you need for the next phase of your life. You've probably noticed that life has a way of testing you right before you're about to step into something new. Just when you think you can't handle anymore, the pressure increases. The demands on your time, your energy, and your resources start to feel overwhelming. It's as if the universe is conspiring to see just how much you can take. But that pressure, that stretching, is not meant to break you. It's meant to build you. Every challenge, every obstacle, every moment of tension is shaping you into the person you need to become in order to handle the blessings that are on the way. You see, if you were never stretched, if you were never pushed beyond your comfort zone, you would never know what you're truly capable of. Growth requires discomfort. It requires pushing past the limits you set for yourself and trusting that you can handle more than you ever thought possible. The truth is, we often underestimate our own capacity. We tell ourselves that we can only handle so much, and we avoid situations that might push us past those limits. But God knows what you're truly capable of. He sees the strength inside of you, the potential that you haven't even tapped into yet. And sometimes He has to stretch you to reveal that strength. Think about a rubber band. It's only useful when it's stretched. If it's just sitting there, not being pulled or stretched, it's not fulfilling its purpose. The same is true for you. When you feel stretched, when you feel like you're being pulled in different directions, it's because you're being prepared to fulfill a greater purpose. You may not understand it at the moment, and it may be uncomfortable, but trust that there's a reason behind the stretching. It's part of the process of becoming who you're meant to be. When you're being stretched, it can feel like everything is happening all at once. The pressures at work, the responsibilities at home, the challenges in your relationships, it can all feel like too much to handle. But remember, you are never given more than you can bear. There is a strength inside of you that you haven't even discovered yet. And sometimes the only way to discover that strength is to be put in situations that require it. You won't know how strong you are until being strong is your only option. There's a refining process that happens when you're stretched. Just like gold is refined by fire, your character is refined by the challenges you face. When you're pushed to your limits, you learn things about yourself that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. You learn patience, you learn resilience, you learn how to trust in God's plan, even when you can't see the full picture. Being stretched teaches you how to rely on something greater than yourself. It forces you to let go of control and to trust that everything is working together for your good. The stretching is not a punishment. It's preparation. You're being prepared for a new level, a new season, a new blessing. And that requires a new level of strength, a new level of endurance. You can't step into that new season with the same mindset, the same habits, or the same limitations that you've had before. The stretching is necessary because it's expanding your capacity. It's making room for the blessings that are on their way. When you're being stretched, it's easy to feel frustrated. You might wonder why things aren't going the way you planned, why it feels like everything is harder than it should be. But growth rarely happens according to our plans. It happens when we're pushed beyond our comfort zones, when we're forced to confront the areas of our lives that need to change. The discomfort you feel is a sign that you're growing, that you're evolving into the person you need to be for the next chapter of your life. Sometimes being stretched means learning how to say no. It means setting boundaries and making decisions that are uncomfortable in the moment but necessary for your growth. When you're being pushed to your limits, you have to prioritize what's most important. You have to let go of the things that no longer serve you, the habits, the people, the situations that are holding you back. Being stretched forces you to focus on what really matters, on the things that will help you grow and move forward. Being stretched also means being willing to take risks. It means stepping into the unknown, even when it scares you. When you're pushed to your limits, it's often because you're being called to do something you've never done before. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone, to stick with what's familiar. But growth requires stepping out in faith. It requires trusting that even though you don't have all the answers, even though you don't know how everything is going to work out, you are being guided towards something greater. The stretching process is not easy. It's uncomfortable, it's challenging, and it can even be painful at times. But it's necessary. You're being stretched because there's more inside of you than you realize. There's potential that you haven't tapped into yet, gifts that you haven't fully developed, and dreams that you haven't even dared to dream. The stretching is bringing all of that to the surface. It's pushing you to become the person you were always meant to be. When you feel stretched, it's important to remember that you're not alone. You're not going through this process by yourself. God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what's to come. You may not understand why things are happening the way they are, but trust that there is a purpose behind it all. The stretching is not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's making you stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling the blessings that are on the way. Being stretched is a sign that you're ready for more. It's a sign that you've outgrown the level you've been operating on and it's time to step into something new. It's a sign that you're being prepared for a greater purpose, a higher calling, and a bigger blessing. The process may not be easy, but it's worth it. Every challenge, every obstacle, every moment of discomfort is shaping you into the person you need to be for the next chapter of your life. When people start leaving your life, it can feel like a deep personal loss. You may find yourself questioning what you did wrong, replaying conversations, and trying to understand why the relationships you valued are no longer the same. It's an unsettling feeling when those you've counted on, those who've walked with you through different seasons of your life, begin to drift away. But there is a deeper truth to this process that is often difficult to see when you're in the middle of it. Sometimes when people leave your life, it's not because of anything you did, it's because of where you're going. Not everyone is meant to go with you into your next season. And sometimes God removes certain people from your life to make room for something greater. As human beings, we naturally form attachments. We build connections with others, and over time, those connections become a part of our identity. When someone leaves, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a colleague, it can feel like a piece of you is being taken away. But in reality, that separation might be necessary for your growth. There are times when the people who are in your life today cannot go with you to where you're heading tomorrow. Their chapter in your story is over, and clinging to them only holds you back from the next phase of your journey. It's difficult to let go, especially when you've invested time, energy, and emotion into a relationship. You shared experiences, built memories, and created bonds that feel unbreakable. But life has a way of shifting, of evolving, and as you grow, your path changes. The people who fit into your life in one season may not fit into the next. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean you failed. It simply means that your journey is leading you in a different direction. And for that journey, you need a new set of relationships, new connections, and new support. Sometimes when people start to leave your life, it's because you're outgrowing them. You're stepping into a new level of your purpose, your calling, and your destiny. And not everyone can handle that. Both can be intimidating to those who are not ready to grow. When you begin to stretch beyond the limitations that others have set for themselves, it can create distance. People who once felt comfortable around you may begin to feel threatened by your progress. They may not understand your vision, your goals, or the changes you're making in your life. As a result, they distance themselves, or you may find that you no longer connect with them in the same way. This process of people leaving your life is often misunderstood as rejection. But it's not rejection, it's redirection. God knows the plans He has for you, and sometimes those plans require you to walk a path that others are not meant to walk with you. It's like traveling up a mountain. The higher you go, the fewer people you'll find on the trail. Not everyone is equipped to handle the climb, and that's okay. Some people are meant to be in your life for only a season. They served a purpose in that season, but now that you're moving to a higher level, it's time to release them. The difficult part about this process is that it's not always clear in the moment why someone is being removed from your life. It can feel confusing and painful, especially if it's someone you care about deeply. You may feel abandoned or betrayed, and those feelings are valid, but in time, you'll begin to see that the space created by their absence is being filled with something better. New people, new opportunities, and new experiences that are aligned with where you're going will begin to enter your life. It's important to recognize that as you grow, the relationships in your life need to grow as well. If the people around you are not growing, if they're not evolving in their own lives, it becomes difficult to maintain those connections. You may find that the conversations you once enjoyed no longer resonate with you. The activities you once did together no longer bring you the same sense of fulfillment. This is not a reflection of anyone's worth. It's simply a sign that you're moving in a different direction. And in order for you to continue on your path, you have to be willing to let go of relationships that are no longer serving your growth. When people start to leave your life, it's also an opportunity for reflection. What are you holding on to that no longer aligns with your purpose? Sometimes we cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. We hold on to people because they are familiar, because they represent a comfort zone that we don't want to step out of. But staying in those comfort zones prevents us from stepping into the fullness of what God has for us. It's in the letting go and the release that we make space for new relationships that will help propel us forward. This process is also about trust. Trusting that God knows what you need better than you do. Trusting that when someone leaves your life, it's because there is someone else who is meant to come in and fill that space. Trusting that the relationships you need for the next season of your life are already being prepared for you. It's hard to see this when you're in the middle of the loss, but over time, as new people enter your life, you'll begin to understand why certain people had to leave. There's a misconception that losing people means failure. But in reality, losing people is often a sign of growth. It's a sign that you're moving forward, that you're evolving into a higher version of yourself, and that you're being prepared for something greater. The people who leave are not a reflection of your worth or value. They are simply no longer aligned with where you're going. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be in your life forever. The key to navigating this process is to hold relationships loosely. Appreciate the people who are in your life in the present moment, but don't cling to them out of fear of losing them. Understand that life is a series of seasons, and just as the seasons change, so do the people in your life. Some will stay for the long haul, and others will only walk with you for a short time. Both are valuable, and both serve a purpose. When people start leaving your life, it's also a chance to strengthen your relationship with yourself. It's easy to rely on others for validation, for support, and for a sense of identity. But when people leave, you are forced to turn inward to find those things within yourself. You learn to stand on your own 2 feet, to trust your own instincts, and to rely on your relationship with God as your primary source of strength. This period of separation can be a time of deep personal growth, as you discover parts of yourself that were previously hidden. There's also a pruning process that happens when people leave your life. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to remove dead or unproductive branches, God prunes relationships in your life to remove what is no longer bearing fruit. It may not always be clear at first why a certain relationship is being removed, but over time you'll begin to see the new growth that comes as a result. Pruning is necessary for the tree to produce more fruit, and the same is true for your life. When certain relationships are removed, it allows you to grow in ways you couldn't have before. People leaving your life can also be a sign that you're being protected. There may be things about that person or that relationship that you couldn't see, but God could. He sees the big picture. And sometimes He removes people from your life because He knows that they're not aligned with your purpose or they're not healthy for you in the long run. It's a form of divine protection, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Trust that when people leave, it's because there is something better on the way. When you begin to experience unusual favor, it can feel like things are finally starting to align in your life. After enduring seasons of struggle, uncertainty, and waiting, you suddenly find doors opening that were once closed. Opportunities you didn't expect begin to present themselves, and blessings seem to come from places you never imagined. This kind of favor is not something you can explain easily. It's not the result of your hard work or planning, though those things play a role. It's something deeper. It's as if the universe, or more precisely God, is orchestrating circumstances in your favor in ways that you couldn't have predicted or planned for. Unusual favor is a sign that something significant is about to happen in your life. It's a precursor to a major shift, an indication that the season you've been preparing for is finally coming to pass. When you experience this kind of favor, it's often unexpected. You may have been praying for something, working toward a goal, or simply trying to stay faithful through a difficult period, and then out of nowhere, things start to change. The connections you've been trying to make fall into place effortlessly. The resources you need suddenly become available. The obstacles that seemed insurmountable are removed. This is the kind of favor that doesn't make sense in the natural, but it's a sign that something bigger is at work. There are times when we try to force things to happen in our lives. We push and push, trying to make our plans work, trying to control the outcome. But unusual favor is different. It doesn't require forcing. It doesn't require striving. It simply flows. When you're in a place of unusual favor, things happen with ease. The effort you put in multiplies and the results exceed your expectations. This doesn't mean that there's no work involved. There is always work to be done. But the difference is that the work feels lighter, more purposeful, and more aligned with your destiny. It feels like you're being carried by something greater than yourself. Often, unusual favor comes after a period of testing or hardship. You've been through the fire, you've been through the struggle, and now it's time for the reward. The favor you're experiencing is not random. It's a direct result of the endurance, the faith, and the persistence you've shown in the tough times. God sees the effort you've put in even when no one else did. He sees the sacrifices you made, the prayers you prayed, and the patience you showed when it would have been easier to give up. And now he is rewarding you with favor that is beyond what you could have imagined. Unusual favor doesn't just affect one area of your life. It tends to spill over into multiple areas. It's like a ripple effect. When you experience favor in your career, it often leads to favor in your relationships, your finances, and even your health. One blessing opens the door for another. And before you know it, your entire life is being elevated. This is why it's so important to recognize when you're in a season of favor. When you start to see things shift in one area, pay attention to how that shift is affecting other parts of your life. The favor you're experiencing is not limited to just one aspect. It's holistic. One of the key aspects of unusual favor is timing. You may have been working towards something for years with no visible progress, and then suddenly everything starts to happen all at once. This is not a coincidence. There's a divine timing to everything, and when the time is right, the doors will open. Often, we become frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we'd like. We question whether we're on the right path, whether we've missed our opportunity. But when you're in a season of unusual favor, you realize that the timing was never in your control to begin with. Things happen exactly when they're supposed to. And when they do, you'll see why the wait was necessary. Unusual favor is also a reminder of grace. It's not something you can earn or deserve through your own efforts. It's a gift. It's a sign that despite your imperfections, despite the mistakes you've made along the way, God is still blessing you. He is still opening doors for you, still making a way for you, because his plans for your life are greater than anything you could have imagined. This kind of favor humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how hard you work or how much you plan, there are some things that only God can do. There are some blessings that only he can provide. When you experience unusual favor, it's important to remain humble and grateful. It's easy to become complacent when things start to go well. It's easy to forget the struggle, to forget the lessons you learn in the difficult times. But favor is not something to take for granted. It's something to be stewarded carefully. When God blesses you, he's entrusting you with something valuable, and it's up to you to handle that blessing wisely. Favor is an opportunity, but it also comes with responsibility. How you handle the favor you've been given will determine how long it lasts and whether you'll receive more in the future. Unusual favor often attracts attention. People around you may notice that things are going well for you. That doors are opening for you in ways that don't make sense. Some will be happy for you, but others may not understand why you're experiencing favor when they're not. This is something you need to be prepared for. Not everyone will celebrate your success, and that's okay. Favor is not about competition. It's about alignment with your purpose. When you're walking in your purpose, favor will naturally follow. You don't have to explain it, justify it, or prove it to anyone. Just keep walking in the direction God is leading you. Sometimes unusual favor comes with challenges. As doors open, new responsibilities come with them. The blessings you receive may require you to step into new roles, to take on new tasks, or to operate at a higher level than you're used to. Favor doesn't mean that everything will be easy. It means that you're being given the opportunity to grow, to stretch, and to rise to the occasion. When you experience unusual favor, don't shy away from the challenges that come with it. Embrace them as part of the process. Trust that if God has given you the favor, he's also given you the ability to handle the responsibilities that come with it. Unusual favor can also lead to new relationships. When you're in a season of favor, you'll find that you attract people who can help you get to the next level. These are divine connections, people who are placed in your life for a specific reason to help you fulfill your purpose. Pay attention to the people who enter your life during a season of favor. They may hold the key to your next opportunity, your next blessing. Be open to new relationships, but also be discerning. Not everyone who comes into your life during this time has your best interests at heart. Some may be drawn to your favor for the wrong reasons. So it's important to seek wisdom and guidance in your relationships. Unusual favor is not just about receiving blessings. It's also about being a blessing to others. When you're in a season of favor, you're not meant to keep it all to yourself. You're meant to share it, to lift others up, to use your favor to bless those around you. Whether it's through your resources, your influence, or your time, find ways to use the favor you've been given to help others. This is one of the most powerful ways to ensure that the favor in your life continues. When you become a conduit for blessings, when you allow God to use you to bless others, you'll find that the favor in your life only increases. Lastly, unusual favor is a reminder to stay focused on your purpose. It's easy to get distracted when things are going well. Success can sometimes pull you away from the very thing that brought you the favor in the first place. But favor is not about accumulating blessings for the sake of blessings. It's about walking in your purpose, fulfilling your calling, and staying true to the path that God has set before you. The favor you're experiencing is a sign that you're on the right path, but it's also a reminder to stay grounded in your purpose. Don't let the blessings distract you from the bigger picture. Keep your eyes on the goal and let the favor serve as confirmation that you're exactly where you're meant to be. When you notice a shift in your desires, it's often a sign that something profound is happening inside of you. The things you used to chase, the goals you once prioritized, and the dreams that used to fuel your ambition may no longer hold the same appeal. This internal shift can be unsettling at first because it feels like a part of you is changing, and it is. However, this change is not random. It's purposeful. God often alters our desires when he is preparing us for something new, something bigger, something better aligned with his plan for our lives. What you used to want may no longer serve the purpose God has for you, and he begins to place new desires in your heart that will guide you in the direction he intends for you to go. As you grow and evolve, so do your desires. This isn't a sign that you're fickle or indecisive. It's a natural part of spiritual growth. When you're in alignment with God's plan, your desires begin to reflect his will for your life. What used to excite you may no longer do so because your spirit is no longer aligned with those pursuits. You may find that your interests shift away from material success, superficial relationships, or fleeting pleasures, and instead, you start yearning for things that are more meaningful and fulfilling on a deeper level. A shift in desires is not something you can force or manufacture. It happens naturally as you walk more closely with God and allow him to guide your life. When your desires change, it's often a sign that God is getting ready to do something new in your life. He's preparing you for a new season, a new opportunity, or a new purpose. Sometimes the shift in desires is a way of clearing out the old to make room for the new. The things you used to want may have been good for a previous season, but they're not meant to go with you into the next one. Holding on to old desires can hold you back from stepping into the new things God has for you. When you start to feel that shift, it's important to pay attention and be open to where God is leading you. A change in desires can also be a sign that your heart is being realigned with God's heart. As you grow in your relationship with him, you start to desire the things that he desires. Your priorities shift from what the world values to what God values. You may find yourself caring less about external validation and more about inner peace, less about accumulating wealth and more about making a difference, less about seeking power and more about serving others. This realignment of desires is one of the ways God transforms you from the inside out. It's not just about changing what you want. It's about changing who you are and what you're becoming. This shift in desires is often accompanied by a sense of restlessness or discomfort. You may feel uneasy about the path you're currently on, even if it's a path you've been on for years. The things that used to bring you joy may now feel empty or unfulfilling. This restlessness is a sign that God is stirring something new within you. He's calling you to something higher, something more aligned with the purpose He has for your life. It's a signal that it's time to let go of the old and embrace the new, even if you're not entirely sure what the new looks like yet. Sometimes this shift in desires happens gradually, and other times it happens suddenly. You may wake up one day and realize that the career you've been pursuing for years no longer excites you, or that the relationship you've been investing in is no longer fulfilling. This can be confusing, especially if you've spent a lot of time and energy chasing after these things. But when your desires shift, it's important not to resist it. Trying to force yourself to want something that no longer aligns with your spirit will only lead to frustration and dissatisfaction. Instead, trust that the change in your desires is part of a bigger plan that you may not fully understand yet. As your desires shift, you may also notice that your focus begins to change. The things that used to consume your time and attention may no longer hold the same importance. You may start to focus more on your spiritual growth, your relationships, or your personal well-being. You may find yourself drawn to new opportunities that you never would have considered before. This change in focus is often a sign that God is directing your attention toward the things that truly matter, the things that will help you fulfill your purpose and bring you closer to Him. When God changes your desires, it's often a sign that He's calling you to a higher level of faith and trust. You may not fully understand why your desires are changing or where they're leading you, but this is where faith comes in. Trusting that God knows what's best for you, even when you don't, is a key part of the journey. When your desires shift, it's an invitation to trust that God's plan for your life is better than anything you could have planned for yourself. It's an opportunity to surrender your will to His and allow Him to guide you to the places you're meant to go. This process of changing desires can also be a test of your willingness to let go. Letting go of the things you once wanted is not easy, especially if you've built your identity around those desires. You may have spent years pursuing a certain career, relationship, or lifestyle, and now God is asking you to let it go. This can be a painful process, but it's necessary for your growth. Holding on to old desires will only keep you stuck in a place that no longer serves you. Letting go allows you to step into the new things that God has for you, even if you don't fully understand what those things are yet. As your desires change, you may also experience resistance from the people around you. Not everyone will understand the shift that's happening inside of you. Friends, family members, or colleagues may question your choices or try to convince you to stick to the path you were on. This is where discernment comes in. It's important to recognize that not everyone is meant to understand your journey, and that's okay. Your path is unique to you, and what God is doing in your life may not make sense to others. Stay true to the desires God is placing in your heart, even if it means going against the expectations of others. A shift in desires is also a sign of maturity. As you grow in wisdom and understanding, your desires naturally evolve. What you wanted at one stage of your life may not be what you want at another stage. This is part of the process of becoming who God created you to be. Your desires are not static, they change as you change. The more you grow, the more your desires will reflect the person you're becoming. It's important to embrace this process of growth and not cling to old desires out of fear of change. When your desires shift, it's also an opportunity to deepen your relationship with God. The process of letting go of old desires and embracing new ones requires a level of trust and intimacy with God that can only come through spending time with Him. As you seek His guidance and direction, He will reveal more of His plans for your life. This is a time to press into prayer, to seek His will, and to allow Him to lead you. The more you surrender your desires to Him, the more aligned your life will become with His purpose for you. This shift in desires may also lead you to make changes in other areas of your life. You may find that as your desire is something greater than what you've been pursuing. The things you used to want may have been good, but God has something better in store for you. He's calling you to a higher purpose, a deeper level of fulfillment, and a greater impact. This is why it's so important to pay attention to the shift in your desires. It's not just about what you want, it's about what God wants for you. When your desires align with His will, you'll experience a sense of peace, clarity, and purpose that can't be found in anything else. As your desires change, you may also notice that your motivations begin to shift. What used to drive you may no longer hold the same power over you. You may find that you're no longer motivated by external rewards or validation, but instead you're driven by a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. This shift in motivation is a sign that you're maturing spiritually and emotionally. You're no longer chasing after things that are temporary or superficial. Instead, you're pursuing the things that have eternal value. This change in motivation is one of the most powerful signs that God is at work in your life. When your desires shift, it's important to be patient with yourself. Change is not always easy, and it can take time to fully understand and embrace the new desires that are emerging in your heart. You may go through a period of confusion or uncertainty as you navigate this transition. This is normal. Trust the process and give yourself the grace to explore your new desires without judgment or pressure. Remember that this is a journey, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. As you continue to seek God's guidance and trust in His plan, the path forward will become clearer. The shift in your desires is also an indication that you're being prepared for a new level of responsibility. The new desires that are emerging in your heart are not just about your personal fulfillment. They often come with a call to greater responsibility and impact. As you grow in your understanding of what truly matters, you may find that your new desires are aligned with serving others, contributing to your community, or making a difference in the world. This is an essential part of the journey. With greater desires come greater opportunities to lead, to influence, and to inspire others. This new level of responsibility might mean taking on roles that you never considered before. You may feel called to mentor others, to advocate for causes that resonate with you, or to pursue work that aligns with your values and beliefs. These new responsibilities can be daunting, especially if you're stepping out of your comfort zone, but they're also incredibly rewarding. Embracing these responsibilities is part of stepping into your calling and fulfilling the purpose God has designed for you. As you navigate this journey of shifting desires and responsibilities, it's crucial to surround yourself with supportive people who understand your journey. Seek out mentors, friends, or groups that resonate with your new path. These connections will provide encouragement, guidance, and accountability as you embrace the changes taking place within you. Being in community with like-minded individuals can help you stay grounded in your new desires and remind you of the importance of your journey. You may also find that this new season brings challenges you hadn't anticipated. As you pursue your new desires, you may encounter obstacles that test your resolve. These challenges can feel overwhelming at times, but they are also opportunities for growth. God often uses these moments to strengthen your faith, to refine your character, and to prepare you for what's ahead. Embrace the challenges as part of the process and lean into your support system during tough times. Remember that growth often requires stepping outside your comfort zone, and the challenges you face are stepping stones on the path to fulfilling your purpose. This journey of shifting desires is also an invitation to practice self-compassion. As you navigate this transition, be gentle with yourself. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism when you feel uncertain or when you struggle to let go of old desires. Instead of beating yourself up for feeling lost or confused, give yourself permission to explore your new desires at your own pace. Trust that clarity will come in time and that it's okay to take the time you need to fully embrace this new season. Through this journey, it's essential to keep an open dialogue with God. Spend time in prayer, seeking His guidance as you navigate your changing desires. Ask Him to reveal His purpose for you and to help you understand the significance of the desires emerging in your heart. Being in constant communication with God will not only provide clarity, but also reinforce your trust in His plan. When you're open to His leading, you'll find that the process becomes smoother and you'll gain a deeper understanding of your purpose. As you continue to embrace this shift in desires, remember that it's all part of the beautiful journey of becoming who you were created to be. Each change, each new desire, and each step you take brings you closer to the life that God has intended for you. Embrace the transformation and allow it to guide you toward the next chapter of your life. Ultimately, the shift in your desires is a reflection of God's hand at work in your life, leading you to a future that is filled with purpose, fulfillment, and a deeper connection with Him. Your new desires are not just about you, they are about the impact you will have on the world around you, and this journey is only the beginning. As we reflect on the 7 signs that God is about to bless us, it's clear that each sign is intertwined with our personal journey and relationship with Him. When we find ourselves in a season of preparation, where the foundations are being laid for something greater, we are reminded that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. The stirring in our spirit, the shift in our desires, and the unusual favor we experience are all part of a divine orchestration, preparing us to receive the blessings that await. In moments of waiting and uncertainty, it's vital to recognize the signs that God is working behind the scenes. The tests we face and the lessons we learn are not merely obstacles, they are the building blocks of our faith. Each challenge is a stepping stone leading us closer to our purpose. As our desires change, we are invited to align ourselves more closely with God's will, to seek out the things that truly matter, and to embrace the new paths He is revealing. The blessings that are on the horizon often come after we have endured the storm. God is faithful, and His timing is perfect. As we remain steadfast in our faith, trusting that He is leading us toward a brighter future, we must also be prepared to share our blessings with others. The unusual favor we experience is not solely for our benefit, but is meant to be a conduit for grace and love in the lives of those around us. So as we journey through life, let us remain open to the signs of God's blessings. Let us embrace the changes in our desires and recognize that they are not a sign of instability, but a call to a higher purpose. Together, we can walk in faith, courageously pursuing the dreams that God has placed in our hearts, knowing that He is always at work, guiding us toward the extraordinary blessings that await. Let us trust in His goodness and allow our lives to be a testament to His faithfulness as we step boldly into the future He has prepared for us.